Welcome to Baking with Indel, and today we have a special guest, Randa, where we'll be making a chocolate cake today. And these are the things you need for the recipe. You need sugar, cocoa powder, salt, baking powder, baking soda, flour, vegetable oil, 2 eggs, hot water, buttermilk, and vanilla extract. However, we don't want to burn the house down, so to make life easy, we will be using this. Now let's cook while we explain the chemistry behind baking a cake.
Not a lot of people know that all cooking and baking has chemistry in it. Some may ask, how are the substances in the chocolate cake changing? Well, the substances are creating new bonds and forming as they are being heated in an oven.
Now, what is causing the change? The short answer is heat. Heat causes changes in some of the ingredients used to bake a cake. For example, heat allows the baking powder to produce little bubbles. These bubbles are gas bubbles which rise from the batter in the oven, which makes the cake become light and fluffy. Heat also fastens the acid-base reactions, which forces the baking soda to decompose, producing gas. This then allows the cake to rise and not be flat. Finally, heat also affects the protein in an egg. It causes it to change and hardens and firms the cake up.
What type of reaction is this? As the batter is experiencing heat, it starts to change, causing an endothermic reaction. Heat goes from the oven and enters the system, which in this case is the batter allowing the substances to change and form new bonds. Now let's talk a little bit more about some specific ingredients such as baking soda. To dive more into baking soda, here's a closer look at its fluid structure, also known as NaHCO3 or sodium hydrogen carbonate. This substance is an ionic compound because it has a metal, sodium, and nonmetal, carbon. Some common uses of baking soda is as follows: treating heartburn, mouthwash, whitening teeth, deodorant, or relieving itchy skin and sunburn. What reaction does baking soda go through? It goes through a decomposition reaction when heated, and it starts to break into compounds and start forming Na2CO3, H2O, and CO2. The CO2 creates air bubbles, which leads us to its role in the recipe. As the bubbles escape in the cake in the oven, it helps the cake to rise and not become dense.
Another ingredient that we can examine more closely is salt. Here is the fluid structure. Known as NaCl or sodium chloride, it is an ionic compound that dissociates quickly in water. Now, salt is very reactive, especially in water, where in most cases, when they are mixed, the salt will dissolve into Na sodium cations and Cl chloride anions. Some of its common uses are flavoring, preserving food, dyeing and bleaching, pottery, soap, and chemical cleaners. Lastly, while salt isn't used to have a chemical reaction in the cake, it is still necessary to have a good tasting cake. It is used in many other sweets and foods in order to balance certain elements in them. In chocolate cake, for example, it is used to balance the amount of sweetness and sugar added to enhance the flavor. Thank you so much for tuning in. Here are our sources, and we'll see you guys next time.